This is our presentation, getting started with video editing in Shotcut. My name is Diego Castillo.
And my name's Domenden.
All right, so before we begin, I'd like to give some general information on Shotcut. Shotcut is a free open source app, video editing app, and it is also cross-platform, so that means that it's available on Apple, Windows, and Linux. And this really works to Shotcut's advantage as it allows it to be used by amateurs or by professionals who want to get started in video editing. So the free cost makes it so that people who aren't really sure if they want to get into video editing, that they can try it out first before they see if they want to go into another program. All right, so we have provided the link for Shotcut below, right here, if you want to download it and get started on your own, so you can see how it works as we present. And as we go through the slides and go through the features, you can also go through the features on your own computers to try it out. All right, now we also made our own video using Shotcut for our school's robotics club, and we'd like to present that to you now.
Just switch out and take out the word.
Alright, so now that I've shown you our video, I'd like to go through our process of making that video, or how you can make a similar video yourselves. So when you first open up Shotcut, this is the first thing you'll see. As you can see in the middle section, you can start a new project, and to do that, all you have to do is set the name for the project, and then hit create. You can also set the resolution and the frame rate of the project yourself, or if you want to, you can do it automatically. So if you choose to do it automatically, what happens is that it'll just set it to the default of the first clip you enter. And then aside from that, if you look on the right, you can open up existing projects that you have worked on. Alright, so here is Shotcut as you start a new project. As you can see, the first thing you want to do is open up your files, and then as soon as you do that, you go through the clips you have on your computer, and then you drag them onto the playlist. Now the playlist is this thing on the left side, which you will see all the clips you have, like as shown here. And then once the files are uploaded, this is how they appear on the playlist. And then from there, you can drag them onto the timeline.
Alright, so the timeline is where a bulk of your time spent on Shotcut will be. The timeline uses a very common drag and drop functionality. So as you can see here, we have all the clips on the playlist, and all you have to do is drag and drop onto the timeline where they will appear there. There's also a timeline hotbar, so this has features such as split at playhead, ripple trim and drop, which we will discuss later on in the presentation, as well as more simpler features such as append or remove items, and also timeline zoom settings. Alright, so rearranging clips on the timeline is also simple, as you just have to drag. As you can see on the timeline, you have green spaces, and these are the spaces where no clips are present. So if you wanted to drag a clip, all you'd have to do is find a green space on the timeline and place it there. You can also utilize ripple trim and drop, which allows you to place a clip directly between two other clips, and it will essentially make room for that clip. Alright, so aside from video, the timeline is separated between the audio track and the video track. So if you wanted to overlay audio to the video you're creating, all you have to do is click on the 3-bar icon, as you can see here, add audio track, and it will a new audio track will appear on the timeline, and it's denoted by A1. You can rename these different tracks to better organize your project, and yeah.
Okay, so a bit more on the audio. In the audio, you can see two different features, and that is the audio spectrum and the audio waveform. And the audio waveform will show you the volume of the audio as the clips progress. So that's really useful for lining up clips with audio if you have two separate files for each. So if I record a clip, but I record a separate audio file, and I want to match up the lips, then I would look at that to make sure that the two are lined up exactly. And aside from that, you ought to have the audio spectrum, which shows you the volume of the audio in decibels. Now that you have your audio, you want to go, I'll now talk about the editing properties. And you can see the editing properties for both the video and the audio. And to do this, all you have to do is click the little eye on the top hotbar of Shotcut. And for the video properties, the resolution and the frame rate. And for the audio properties, you can see the volume and the sync rate. So now that you have your audio and the video, another thing you do is overlay pictures over different videos. So in this example right here, we have overlaid the Shotcut logo onto our clip. And to do this, all you have to do is open up a new track, as we mentioned for the audio, and then place the clip you want or the picture you want onto that new track, and it will appear there in that time slot over the previous video track.
Alright, so now that we have all our clips lined up on the timeline, it's now time to add filters to these clips. And filters are any effects or modifications that are used to enhance either the video or audio clip. So for example, we might need to resize or rescale a specific clip, or we might need to fade the audio out. And in order to do this, all you have to do is click on a specific clip within the timeline, and on the filters tab, you'll see a plus icon. And but depending on what type of clip you have selected, it will either show an audio filter selection menu or a video filter selection menu. The audio filter selection menu has things like fading in, delay, while the video filter menu has things like fade in video, flip, or crop. Right, so one of the primary video filters that are used on Shotcut is text, and text is usually used on things like captions and title screens, and it's often used to help the video filmmaker convey their ideas in connection with the content they're displaying. So once you have applied the text filter to your video clip, you will have to select the text preset, and this basically determines how the text will appear when you play the clip. So for example, you can set it to fade in from the right, or you can set it to zoom in, and then you would type your desired text into the text field. So for example, in this specific clip, I've decided to title it Night in Times Square, and you are also able to change the properties of the text. So for example, I can change the font size, the positioning of the text itself, or the color. And another commonly used filter is resizing and rescaling. So with this filter, you are able to rotate, scale, and also choose an X and Y offset. Rotating is basically how many degrees in the clockwise direction that you will decide to turn your clip. Scaling is basically, it keeps the aspect ratio, the length and the width constant, while just changing the size of it. And the X and Y offset is basically how much a clip moves in either the X or Y direction. So as you can see in this clip here, we have a primary video clip, and then we have overlaid a Shotcut logo over it. And our goal with the resizing and rescaling, we want to move it, the Shotcut logo out of place so that we can actually see the title. And by editing the rotation, the scale, and the X and Y offset, we are able to position the Shotcut logo into a new place.
Okay, so the next feature, filter we want to talk about is color grading. And color grading lets you access the colors for both shadows, midtones, and highlights. And this is really useful if you want to change like the mood of your clips. So for example, if I want to make things warmer, I could do that by setting things to be orange. And in this feature, you have access to the color wheel, and you also have access to the individual RGB values. So this gives you like a really fine level of customization to which colors you want. So if you don't feel comfortable using the color wheel, you can just stick to the values. And next, we have an example of color grading in process. So as you can see, this is without color grading. And when we choose color grading, we made the clip more warmer. And that really gives it like a brighter feel. It makes it feel a little bit more happier. And that can be really useful depending on the mood you want to set for your clips or for your video. Now, aside from that, once you have your clips, another useful thing you want to do is to create transitions. And then creating transitions is as simple as dragging one clip on top of the other. And this provides you a seamless transition between the two clips. So, like for example, if I had one clip and I wanted to do another one, well, instead of making it like a really like clear break, this will just like fade into the next clip. And also you have a variety of transitions that you can choose from. If you don't just want to stick to like a clear fade, there's also like bars or circles that you can choose. And there's also an option for custom transitions if you want to get into that.
All right, so continuing on with transitions, if you want to edit the more technical settings of the transition itself, you can click on the Properties menu. And so here at the top, we have a drop-down menu, like on the previous screen, of what types of transitions you want to create. And there's also the ability to set the softness, which is basically how gradual one clip will transition from one to the next. So for example, if I set softness to a higher percentage, the clip would be more gradual in its transition. There's also audio crossfade and mixing. So if two clips had their own set of audio, you can set this to seamlessly connect those audios together when the transition takes place. All right, so clip trimming. Oftentimes, filmmakers may want to edit out a specific part of a clip that they put into the timeline, and Shotcut allows you to do this one of two ways. You can either split at the playhead, or you can change the clip length. So the first method, splitting at the playhead. So the playhead is that little white line that basically tells what part or what point on the timeline the video player is at. So say if I can just drag this playhead to the middle of this clip, and I click on that icon at the top, that box in red, and it would split that clip into two separate clips. For changing clip length, all I have to do is select on the clip and then go to the right side of the clip and drag, and you can see that the clip length shortens and we trim it. All right, so wait, is this? Okay, so what are keyframes? So keyframes allow the user to set the parameters of their video filters. So for example, they can adjust how long they want the text to appear, or they might be able to change the color screen at different points in time. So you can see here, the fade-in filter has been applied to this overlay image, and you have to go to the Keyframes tab because it is separate from the timeline. And when you click on the Keyframes tab, you can see on the right that this is the image that will appear. And there is a slider at the top of the clip that basically determines when that fade-in audio, how long it will last.
So now that you have your keyframes set, if you want to get more precise with the timing of said keyframes, you can access the keyframe tab, which we already mentioned. And from there, you can choose to use the slider. And what this happens is that it sets when the keyframe takes into effect. So if I have a fade in as a filter, and I want to make the fade in really gradual, then I could set that little black dot all the way to the end. And what this happens is that it sets that keyframe over that period of time. So instead of like a really sudden fade in, it'll be a more gradual fade in. And essentially, with the keyframes options, I can customize the keyframes to whatever timing I want. So now that you have your video, let's say you're stuck on any step. Thankfully, Shotcut offers a variety of tutorials on its website. And these tutorials go from everything you will ever encounter in the video editing process. So it starts from the introduction and the overview, and then from there it goes to timeline basics. Then you can go more into finer editing, such as the transitions or other filters. Aside from that, Shotcut also has user forums. And if here, you can ask any question that you didn't see answered in any of the videos, and hopefully someone from the Shotcut community will answer that question you have. Aside from that, if you have a question that someone has already asked, you can just search through the forums, see if there's a discussion on that topic. So now that we have gone over the uses of Shotcut, we would like to demonstrate a live video editing process. So throughout the day, we have recorded a variety of clips here at Scale, and we would like to show you how we would organize those clips into a video.
All right, so here you can see that we have pre-imported these clips that we have recorded throughout the day, and now we're just going to go through basic steps like how to add it to the timeline, how to create transitions, how to add filters, and all things that we discussed in this presentation. So, all right, so first, where does this go? All right, so here we have a clip of just us departing our school this morning, and so we're going to drag it from the playlist onto the timeline. Oh, wait. And you can see that it has created a new. Oh. You can see that it's created a new track, video track, and so we're just going to keep on doing this, creating transitions as we go along. So you can see here we have created this, and we're gonna. Huh? Okay. And so Diego's going to be adding these clips together, and let's see. Start creating this. All right, so once all the clips are added, we're going to go over how to create transitions between them, and we're going to also look more into the properties on how to edit them. And so you can see here, when you overlay two clips over each other, it will create this gray and purple icon, and that will represent a transition. And so if we go to the filters menu, we can actually create more effects for the transition itself. You go to properties, click on properties. All right, so as you can see, we have the properties menu, and we can select any type of transition that we would like. So for this example, let's do iris circle. So we'll click on iris circle, and we want the transition to be very gradual, so we'll probably up the softness percentage to 50%, and we'll leave audio crossfading as is. And so we're going to do this transition process for the rest of the clips. And so after we're done creating these transitions, we're going to move into learning how to overlay an audio onto the project itself. So you can see here that now we have all the transitions created, and Diego's going to go ahead and add an audio track. And like we mentioned before, in order to import, all you have to do is click on Open File, and we're going to find the desired file that we want to include in the project. So. And so we're back at the playlist, and we're going to drag it from the player into the playlist and then back onto the timeline on the new audio track that we have created.
Alright, so now that we have the transitions, we'd like to go over some of the filters that you can apply to your video clips. So what you do to that is that you just select one of the clips you want to use, and then you just hit the filters tab that is right next to the playlist. And then from here, all you do is hit the plus button, and you can add any filter that you choose. So for example, we can choose to add a text filter, and then from there, all you need to do is type your desired text into the box, and it will appear on the screen. Aside from that, there's also different presets depending on where you want the text to appear. So for example, if you want the text to say scale, then we just type that in, and it'll appear on the video. Now we can also set it so that the text appears in different orientations, or that it slides in, as shown. So now we will demonstrate going through a different filter. So for example, let's try color grading. Now that we have access to color grading, all you do is change the different color values. So we can change the shadows, or perhaps the midtones, or even the highlights. And then once you have that set, it should appear on the clip itself. As you can see, now our clip now looks green. So that just is one of the possibilities that is open to you with the use of color grading. So now the next clip we want to go over is the next transition.
We're going to try we're going to go over resizing and rescaling. So for example, if we wanted to overlay a video track or an image on top of one another, we can go ahead and create a new video track. And we're going to go to the playlist, and we're going to select any sort of video track that we want. And so, as you can see here, so we have the picture of wait, let me click. Oh. So you can see here that now that we have overlaid the image, it's shown like that. And after that, we're going to go over keyframes. So in the first scene, we had the text that we showed. And if we want to edit the properties of this text, we can go into the Keyframes tab. Where is that? Let's see. Close it. Go ahead. Okay, so now that we have entered the Keyframes tab, we are able to edit how gradual this text will appear on the screen. So let's set it to more gradual right there. And so when we play it on the timeline, it's going to be a much more slower appearance into the scene. And so now that we have that done, we're going to go over how to trim clips. So let's go to our interview clip. We interviewed a booth here at Scale in the exhibit hall, and we're going to see, we're going to show you how to trim a clip. So wait, let's see. So let's say at some point in the video, for example right here, we would like to end the video. So we'll do, we'll use a split at playhead feature. And as you can see, it will divide the clips into two separate clips. And we can actually apply a filter to this clip here to fade out. Let's see. Oh, no, sure. We're going to add the fade out video. And we're going to go to the Keyframes tab. And we're going to use this. And so once you play this ending part, you can see that it will eventually fade out. And we're just going to delete this last portion of the clip since we don't want it. And Next, we're gonna learn how to, what are we gonna do?
I have a question on the audio. So when you import your move file, okay, and it already has audio, but you want to add some music track, I got that part. Can you still maintain the audio from the video and just have really low background music?
Yeah, you can do that actually. Say for example, you could even mute the clip that you want, or another option is to just change the gain or the volume. So for example, this clip, the interview clip, it has its own audio. But if we don't want that audio, we can just simply mute it. Or for example, another thing we can do is do gain and volume. And through this, we can change the volume of that clip. So we can make it louder or we can make it quieter, depending on if we want the music to be louder or if we want the interview to be louder. So now that we have gone over that, let's say your video is done. And now that you want to export your video and upload it somewhere. To do that, all you just do is hit export. And by default settings, you want to go to YouTube. And if you hit the YouTube preset, this will download the video as an MP4. So you do that, and then you hit export file. And save it as scale demonstration. And if you see right here on the right, it'll show you the process in that job. So for example, right now the clip is at 3%. And when it gets to 100, that means that your video is fully uploaded, and you can upload it to whatever website you wish to, or you can share it with whoever you want.
All right, so before we export the final clip, we'll actually, for the interview portion, we'll demonstrate how to lower the volume so that the person's voice in the clip can be heard. So what you want to do is you can select on the audio clip here, and we're going to use the split at playhead feature to split the audio. So you can see that we have split the audio right there. And for this portion of the audio, we can add an individual filter. So we'll go to the Filters tab, and we'll add gain/volume. All right, so for this one, we'll lower the background music so that you can hear the person talking. How do you add the audio? Like this. And so you can see here that now, once we transitioned into this clip, you're able to hear the person talking rather than the background music overpowering it. All right, so what other features? So we're gonna does anybody in the audience have any suggestions of what we could add to the video? Anything features they'd like to see? Yes? Yeah, scaling? Okay, so let's see where we could add. Okay, so say with this video, okay. All right. The highest resolution. Whatever, so at the beginning when you create your video, it will give you the ability to set a custom resolution for it, or if you decide to do default, whatever clip you put in first, it will automatically set it to that resolution. All right, so we're going to demonstrate how to do the rotating and scaling. Let's do it for this one. So we want to kind of rotate and scale this to be more zoomed in. So let's see, we can add the scale. Let's change it to 125. Wait, where is it? This one. This one? Yeah, it is the first one. Okay, so we'll just add it again. Let's see. Rotate. All right. So we're gonna change the scaling of the first clip. So as you can see here, if we change the scaling position, it will be more zoomed in. So for this one, we'll set it to about 125 to make it more like that. And we can also rotate the clip if we wanted to. So as you can see here, it kind of has that effect. And is there, yes?
Yeah, you can. So if I wanted to change it exactly to 125%, I could just set that on there. It's exactly what we set.
Yeah. Any others? Yes?
You have the feature if I have a lot of photo stills that I've brought in there, can I actually like set points on a still that I'm sort of moving up and zooming in as I'm moving up?
Yes, we can actually demonstrate that with keyframes. So if we're able to add an overlay, you can see that the timer button on the left, if you click on that, it will add a keyframe. And when you go over to the keyframes tab, you can position it so that at this point on the clip, it will start to zoom in. Is that what you're saying? Like zoom?
Yeah, let's say, you know, you want to start at the bottom of your photo, and as it moves through, maybe 3 seconds on that one, you want to kind of move up and kind of focus.
Okay, so let's try to see. We can do that with keyframes. So let's see. He wants to move it to the right across the screen like that. So let's see. So if we, let's see. Okay, so this is not really the effect, but you can see that it was able to zoom in over time as the clip progressed. And you can also do this by changing the X and Y offset. So for example, you would set the initial position at the top right, and using the rotate and scale filter, you could put it to whatever position you want the clip to move over to. And using keyframes over time, it will do that. Yes, Nabu? Yes. So on the filters tab, there is filters for fade out audio and fade in video, and we can actually demonstrate that here. So let's go to the end of the last. So in our demonstration, we already added the fade out video, and so now we can do that with the audio. So if we click on the audio track at the bottom, if we click on this, so we'll add a new filter, and we're going to use fade out audio. And as you can see at the end of the audio clip, you can see that we can change how gradual it is fading out. So let's see, exactly that. I think it's, yeah. So once we click on once we put the playhead towards the end of the video, and we'll play it here to demonstrate. Oh wait, let's unmute it. I think it's good. All right, so wait, that's for the wait, let me see it. All right, so we're gonna, since we have the background music, we want to change the background music lower, and then for this one, we want his also to fade out as well, the audio. So fade out audio, and then we can edit that here. So if you go to the timeline, or this clip, click on the keyframes, and we can actually change that fade out audio. Fade out audio. All right, so let's see if it has faded out the way we wanted it to. Let's see. And so you can see that the audio and video faded out at the same time. Wait, you see. So, like that. Is there any other types of features you guys want us to add to the video itself? Any other features that we discussed in this presentation? Yes.
Are there different types of transitions from one video to another?
Yeah.
So yeah, actually you can set individual transitions for each transition. So for example, if I wanted this transition to be like a fade, or I already chose iris for this one, so we can keep it that way. And then for a different transition, I could select a different transition effect. So while this one is dissolve, as you can see right here, dissolve, the first one was the iris circle. And I could do that for each transition to set it to whatever transition I feel is most appropriate for that specific transition between the two video clips. So I don't have to keep the same transition throughout the entire project. I can use a different one for each separate transition effect. Right here?
Can you, if I have a lot of transitions, can I take one transition I like and then automatically deploy it throughout?
Actually, unfortunately, no, you cannot do that. You have to set each transition individually, and there's no way to set it for all. I believe there's one in the back.
Alright, so say if we wanted to overlay the image over this video clip here that we have of a GPU, we can do that by, let's see, so we'll reset these, let's see, we're going to delete this filter, we're just going to do it over again, and so we're, let's see, rotate. Okay, so you can see here that we have the rotate and scale open, and so if we wanted to scale it, we can do it like that. So we have set it to about 65%, and if we want to move it more to the side, we use the X and Y offset. So we use the X offset to move it more to the right here, and so you can see that as we transition to the next screen, that image will appear on the clip itself. Not that we know of, like automatically generated subtitles, is that? Yeah, you can actually use the text filter to add subtitles, but as we know of, there is no automatic subtitle creator for it.
So as for crashing, it doesn't crash like often, but I'd say like the major concern is that sometimes when you're importing like a large amount of clips at once, then sometimes it slows down. But you can easily like get around this by just importing each clip at a time. So instead of trying to upload all your clips at the same time, just do it one by one, and that would make sure that the process is a lot more smooth and that you don't get any crashes. The biggest file size, I'm actually not sure, but I think they might have that information on the website. Well, you can include links, but they would not actually be able to be clicked. So you can have the link set in the video, but you cannot actually have it so that the link redirects you to the website you wish. I do not believe you can. The only way that would be possible was that if the text file was already included in the video clip itself. But you cannot upload the text file as its own, because the only files you can upload are either video files or audio files.
Great job, guys. But can you do like handwritten edits on the video within it, or do you need to put edit the imports? You have to edit before you import.
You would have to edit before you import. So for example, if I wanted like a handwritten message, I'd have to like edit that on my computer and then upload it as a file already made onto the project. Are there any further questions?
You want to show the final product?
Okay. So now that our entire video has been uploaded, as you can see in the job section, what we can do is we can actually just view it on its own. So if I go into my files on my computer and I go to recent, then you can see scale demonstration. And here's the video that we made today right in front of you. As you can see, it has been exported. And now that it's exported, I can share this video wherever I want, and I can upload it wherever I want. So, yeah. Okay. Are there any further questions aside from that?
So you were able to export that video, and while it was processing,
Yeah, actually yes.
On your menu, I saw MPEG 2, but I assume you support MPEG 4, right?
Yeah, it's MP4 and MP3 as well.
How about MKV?
I'm not sure about that, sorry.
You made an initial comment with the first slide basically sets your video resolution.
Yeah.
Can you edit higher and then your presets will drop the resolution in the export?
Well, when you're in Shotcut, let's say I want to open up a new project, you can set whatever resolution. There are presets before you begin. So, for example, right here in the video mode, there are different presets to choose from. And if you choose a preset, then that will set that preset for your entire project. So the only way you would change that was that if you have a clip that is of a lower resolution, and then that would obviously be in a low resolution. But if you want your video to be in 1080p, for example, I could hit 1080p, 25 frames per second, or whatever frames I want.
So with the, that video mode, I mean, can you change it, midway through the project, and I decide that I'm going to do it in a higher resolution going forward? Is that higher resolution, or is it doing this on the import?
I believe when you export it, it might also give you the opportunity to change the resolution before you download as a final product. So we can see. Let's go to different exports. So yeah, it doesn't look like before you export it you can change the resolution in the process. So I think that once you create the project, it would be permanent, but yeah.
I didn't see 4K on that list. A lot of them do GoPro cameras do 4K.
Let me see. So there's actually a custom mode. So you're not limited to these video modes. You can actually change it. So if you go to custom and you click on add, you can change the resolution to whatever you'd like, as well as the frame rate, aspect ratio, things like that. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes? An internet platform, you said? So like YouTube? On the export, it does give you the option for YouTube, but it will download it in the file that YouTube accepts, but you would have to go to YouTube separately in order to import the project. So I don't think there's that integration yet developed on Shotcut. Any other questions? No? Okay. Yes? Oh, okay. Okay. Is there any other? So wait, was that like? From YouTube? Oh, okay, yeah. I thought the guy back there, he was asking if you can export it directly to YouTube, but that is a useful feature that we did not encounter when we were using the product itself. Is there any other questions?